Dr. Bach, if the Tudors reinforced the role of Parliament, the Stuart established its central place as the ultimate political authority in this country. So can I say the age of Stuart is also the age of Parliament?
Yes, I think in this sense that by the end of the Stuart period,
yes.
Parliament is firmly established in the British Constitution. Britain can't really, by the end of the Stuart period, go the way of France under Richelieu or Spain.
Yes.
So that's true. I think that the Tudors used Parliament. I mean, Henry VIII used Parliament to push through the Reformation.
Yes.
Elizabeth I was careful to, while insisting upon her prerogative, she was careful to consult and to listen to Parliament.
Yes.
I think to say that the Stuarts, I think you said they established Parliament. The Stuart kings didn't want to do that. I mean, none of them believed in what England had become by the end of the Stuart period. I think Parliament was strong enough during the Stuart period to impose its will upon the monarchy.
Yes.
And so through both civil war and through the Glorious Revolution. And the Glorious Revolution is the decisive moment, I think, in which the power of the monarchy is significantly limited.
Yes.
And it takes another 140 years for it to be, the monarchy just to become no more than a figurehead. But never again could you have a monarch attempting to establish the degree of power and control and believing in it that Charles I did.
Yes, yes, yes. So speaking of the religion, do you think the religious strife in the Tudor period continued and intensified in the Stuart period?
I think that this is a question which is good to look at in a whole European context.
Okay.
In 1618, the 30 Years' War broke out.
Yes.
And it broke out essentially over religious conflict. But by the end of the 30 Years' War, I think that at the Peace of Westphalia, that we reach a point where there's a kind of exhaustion of over religious conflict. At the beginning of the Reformation, I think people thought that under no circumstances should you tolerate a religion or a form of religion which was fundamentally wrong and heretical. And the terrible religious wars which then succeeded right the way through the 16th and the first half of the 17th century eventually lead to a kind of exhaustion, and it's out of exhaustion that you get the development of religious toleration. I think it's a mistake to think that the Reformation was advocating religious toleration. It didn't at all. Calvin's Geneva was just as intolerant as the Roman Catholic Church was.
Yes.
So yes, at the beginning of the Stuart period, there's still very strong religious feeling.
Yes.
And the reason for the Mayflower setting sail for America, the Pilgrim Fathers in 1620, is because there are people in England who are Protestant but don't accept state control of the church, and they leave England as a result. Equally, you've got people who are so disappointed with James I's failure to introduce toleration for Catholics that you have the Gunpowder Plot in 1605, where Catholics are trying to blow up Parliament and assassinate the king in it. And there's terrible religious conflict in the 1630s and 40s and this is a conflict within Protestantism between those who want a church which is independent of the state and the king who wishes to govern church and state together through the bishops and who sees anything other than that as an attack upon his own power and prerogative. James I himself had said, no bishop, no king. If you don't have control of the church, then you will end up with the abolition of monarchy itself. So I think at the beginning of the century, you've got still very strong religious feeling.
Yes.
And there's still strong religious feeling. There's still, at the end of the century, a sense among many Protestants that Catholicism is completely unacceptable. It means tyranny, it's un-English. If you have a Catholic monarch, it'll mean going back to the days of Bloody Mary Tudor, when those 300 Protestants were burned to death for their beliefs, many of them very ordinary men and women. And so still there's tremendous fear of Catholicism. Even right into the 19th century, that is perpetuated. It's only in the 1820s that the Acts of Parliament passed in the Stuart period to deny anyone who is not a member of the Church of England a place in government or in an army command position.
Yes.
Only in the 1820s are those acts removed. Only in the 1820s are Catholics allowed to sit in the English Parliament.
Wow.
So there's still tremendous distrust.
Yes.
But by the end of the century, we do have the acceptance of a degree of religious toleration. The Toleration Acts of 1689 allow Protestants who do not accept state control of the church to worship if they have a license, and that's a significant change. Religious uniformity cannot be imposed, and we are marching down the road towards the modern, what I would call civilized period of religious toleration.
Yes, yes. So from what you have said, I can see that the religious toleration is a very long and slow and difficult process and journey.
That's absolutely right.
Yes.
And I think we only really get there in the
20th century.
20th century in the Christian church.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much. Thank you.